Hello everyone, my name is Tanuj Poddar. I'm an HR analytics professional with about 10 years of experience. In contrast to a lot of my peers, I've been in this space since the start of my career. Interestingly, this space started building up within organizations around the same time I started my career after completing an MBA in HR back in 2010. Often, when I used to meet my batchmates and friends from HR, they used to be inquisitive about my profile and what I do. They are used to seeing front-ending roles in HR like business partners or advisors or recruitment, CNB, talent management, etc. But this was an area that was new to them. And trust me, their inquisitiveness was justified. I've often been the person who was the face of this function and suggesting what this function should plan to contribute to the organization. This was so because often those who decided to invest in this function were also not very clear about their expectations. While now this function is becoming more commonplace within organizations, there's still a lack of clarity about what we do, especially to those who are outside this function. A lot of times I come across folks who say that the next career switch that they plan to do is into this function. A little probing reveals that while they are enticed by this role, they are not really sure about what they would do once they are in it. And oftentimes, in those conversations, I would act as a myth buster for them. But what these conversations and many others with my peers working in the people analytics space made me realize was that there is no absolute right way to sum up this function. So, to answer this question of what is HR analytics, I think the best that I can do is give my perception about it based on what all I have been able to do within this function. So that brings us to the question what what is it that I do? Contemplating on it, what I think that for most part of my career, I have worked within organizations. So I would stick to define it from that perspective. Acting as an external consultant adds more dimension to the role that I would skip for now and make cover in future videos. I call out this distinction because even though I work within the organization, there is a big aspect of consultative capabilities involved in my role. And mostly my clients are HR teams and leads, and I am trying to help them achieve what they are trying to accomplish. And the base of all that I do for them is the currency on which we work, that is data. So, whatever we design for them is based on data. And contrary to popular beliefs, due to widespread use of words like artificial intelligence and auto ML and NLP and cognitive computing, etc., the work that we do, especially in the space of HR, is to act as an enabler to decision making. We don't aim to substitute the decision makers or make them redundant. All that we try to do is make the information more relevant to the context in which the decision is being taken so that the decision makers are better informed. The data that we work upon needn't necessarily be only from HR, but more often than not, the decisions being taken are concerning the employees of the organization. So, what are these products that we design? Well, as I said, when we get involved, what we produce is generally based on data. So it could be products like dashboards, scorecards, studies, or probably tools which are guiding certain processes. Now, these would typically enable leaders to track progress, assess impact, design policies, create cases, simulate effect of interventions, etc. I know when you think about dashboards, you think of those traditional MIS teams which are collating data on multiple spreadsheets and then producing certain charts and tables that is sent on emails. And then when you wonder what analytics is all about, you think, there are those swanky ML algorithms that you sometimes hear about, right? Well, they are not all that detached anyways. Dashboards are about viewing relevant matrices, and there could be some top notch algorithm at play to calculate those matrices. And this brings me to an important aspect of this job, being able to consult with decision makers to study the varied aspects that should drive those decisions and make the metrics as relevant to the context as possible. So, how do I do it? So often, oftentimes the the role that we play is similar to what a technology analyst would do, business analyst would do. That and we work a lot towards standardization. So managing people is generally not considered a very specialized job by a lot of leaders and managers, and so they find their own ways of doing it, right? And this is what HR tries to drive certain standardization and structure to. So when we are start looking at the ways in which people are being managed, and we try to aggregate it for the leaders to make sense of it, we often end up driving standardization in taxonomies. Of course, that is only through the blessings of these same leaders that we are designing these reports for. Now, as leaders try to drive certain initiatives, they also want it to be interpreted by everyone in the same way. So, this is also something that we help do through effective communications of about how we are going about measuring the things that we report upon. And as we go about doing this, we also provide very relevant inputs to the HR teams on their talent processes that they're trying to run and the technology that they're using to drive them, and also on how they're assessing the impact of their efforts. So, what does this all really mean, right? So, let me give you an example so that makes it more clear for you. Say my organization starts using an assessment tool while hiring people. Now, if I were to assess the impact of this tool, then I would need to analyze what all could get impacted through its implementation. If I only look at the recruitment process, then I could look at reduction in time, for example. Now, how would I say whether it is helping reduce time or not? I could look at what I'm trying to assess. I could assess is the effectiveness of the tool in trying to weed out these candidates much earlier in the recruitment process so that we don't have to interview them at all and then reject them. Or it could also be about reducing the interview time by giving certain specific areas on which the recruiter needs to probe. Similarly, if I was to look at assessing quality of hires, I would need to generate consensus around what the quality of hire really means for a particular position. As subjective as the metric is, it always drives a lot of conversations before people agree upon it, and that too very reluctantly. Similarly, while deriving cost impact, I would need to define what kind of cost to include. Some of it would be, estimated, some of it would be notional, and again, there would be some consensus that needs to be driven around them, around their calculations. So as you see, there is a lot of ambiguity that is there that goes into executing these products or designing and delivering these products. So all this ambiguity is generally overcome by more and more clarity on the desired outcomes, and often you'll be surprised to the extent to which these desired outcomes change or get refined as we go about doing our analysis. So let me just try to sum it all up by telling you what I need to know so that I'm able to accomplish all this. As I mentioned earlier, the fuel that drives our function is data. So we need to have a very strong understanding of how data gets captured and flows within different systems and tools being used within the organization. This is where the technical aspect of a job comes into picture. Given the different kind of analysis we need to carry out, how is it that we can get the best setup, best set up the technology infrastructure to capture, mold, and share the data to enable timely availability of accurate, information required to deliver relevant and credible analysis. I will delve further into the different technologies in subsequent videos, but I hope this gives a clear understanding, at least for the time being. Well, thank you for your time and I hope this was helpful. Share your feedback and suggestions in the comment below. Look forward to connecting with you soon in the next video.